UFC Fight Night Vallejos versus Emmett was last night, and I'm going to go through the card, recap the entire thing, give my picks and my breakdowns of what happened in each fight. And yeah, I'm going to probably move through this one pretty quick because not many of these fights were absolutely crazy, but it was a decent overall card, especially for being in the Apex. And we started the night out with Pierre Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. Now I caught this one halfway through, um, but from what I had seen, Sam Hughes just got beaten on. I got this pick wrong completely. Pierre Rodriguez was way better on the feet, and Sam Hughes had no real power on the feet against Pierre Rodriguez. And couldn't really do anything. And then Pierre Rodriguez just would throw like a three-piece combination that would really hurt Sam Hughes or like stumble her backwards and cause her to look worse in the fight. She bloodied up her nose, and yeah, Pierre Rodriguez just timed her very well and won this fight pretty convincingly. Yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary in that fight. I just got it wrong. Then we had Luan Lacerda versus Hetcher Sosa. This fight was actually kind of fun. I got this one wrong too. Hetcher Sosa wins this one. He lands some better shots in certain rounds, but it was still a close fight. Luan Lacerda could have won it if he had landed a little bit more in specific key moments. But Hetcher Sosa looked good out there and he was striking very well. Um, but yeah, this was a good fight. I got it wrong. Hetcher Sosa was just more active, landed more, was doing good with pressure, and Luan Lacerda just wasn't able to really control where he needed to in this fight, and Hetcher Sosa was able to just pick pieces of the fight to win certain moments. Then we have Bia Mesquita versus Montez Rondon. I got this one right. Obviously, Bia Mesquita, she goes out there, she gets Montez Rondon to the ground. I believe she dropped her. Wow, literally zero strikes landed for Rendon. Bia Mesquita gets Rendon down to the ground. I believe she had dropped her, then eventually gets to her back and submits her. Makes her tap immediately. The grappling and the jiu-jitsu for Bia Mesquita is another level compared to most of these women in the UFC. And if she keeps climbing the ranks slowly and correctly, she could get to the top and be a very good, serious title challenger with her skills as a grappler. If she keeps working on her striking, making it more refined, she's going to be very, very, very dangerous in the women's divisions. Um, but yeah, she did very good and went out there, did what she needed to do as a like minus 700 favorite, and submits Montez Rendon immediately. Then we have Brad Tavares versus Eric Anders. This fight was something. Eric Anders really tried to push this one up against the fence most of the fight. Brad Tavares was doing decent in moments, but then it felt like when Brad Tavares would do good, Eric Anders would also do good. And then when Brad Tavares would do good again, Eric Anders would also do good. And then Eric Anders also was getting control time of pushing up against the fence. So like when they would break, Brad Tavares would land a shot, but then Eric Anders would land a shot the very next clinch break. And it just it felt like they were staying pretty even, and then Brad Tavares would lose another exchange and then also have the control time against him. So I think Brad Tavares did deserve to lose this one, but I think it was close enough, and I think you could argue certain rounds for Brad Tavares, but it's a Brad Tavares Eric Anders fight. Let's not really even spend that much time on it. I got this one wrong. Eric Anders retired in the octagon after, and yeah, Brad Tavares is stopped from breaking uh, Michael Bisping's all-time win record. So we'll see if he eventually does get it. But yeah, then we move on to Balagiaki versus Manuel Sosa. Very good performance from both of these guys. Um, this fight was pretty fun. They both would hurt each other, land hard shots. Just yeah, very very fun. And then Manuel Sosa wins this one with a flatline knockout at the end of the third round. Grabs Blagiak because in the first round there was a lot more grappling than it needed to be. Um, and that helped Aki control his gas tank a little longer. Second round, it was getting better for Sosa, but also Aki was still doing good. But you could see Aki was gassing, and then by the third end of the second, I believe Manuel Sosa was coming back. starting into the third, Aki is really noticeably tired and isn't really able to do anything in the entire third round. Yeah, 32 strikes, landed 44 of 72. Um, but the Manuel Sosa was just teeing off on him, landing good shots, landing good shots. Aki would land one back, and then it would slow up Sosa, and then Sosa would land more, and was just following after him, pushing the pressure on him. Um, and yeah, Manuel Sosa eventually grabs the hand of Aki as Aki's backing away towards the cage, grabs the hand with his left hand, pulls it down a little bit, and then just throws an overhand over the top. And Aki's so tired that he can't get that hand up there quick enough, and so he barely even gets it up to his chest. And then he's knocked out, and he literally sprawls out completely flat, like straight legged, eyes roll back, everything. He was out cold. Manuel Sosa with a nasty knockout. And yeah, looked great in there. Was a pretty fun fight while it lasted, and yeah, I got that one correct. Then we move up to Elijah Smith versus Su Young Yu. This fight was good. Elijah Smith was doing decent, but the second round, or the first round, Su Young Yu was able to implement his grappling a lot, like very good. Elijah Smith landed a great knee, but Su Young Yu ate it, was able to keep you just going. Had a great knee, and then uh, yeah, he grappled, he wrestled, he pushed him around, and then Elijah Smith getting into the second round, he was able to um kind of implement more of his plan more, and then I believe he dropped Su Young Yu, and then jumped onto his back and gets a rear naked choke and submits him, which he was absolutely shocked he was able to do. The way he looked when he got up, he was like surprised, eyes wide, mouth wide open. He was running around. But yeah, very good performance from him. I believe he dropped him in the second round, and that's what led to him getting onto the back, just rolling him into a choke. And yeah, great performance from Elijah Smith. Excited to see what he does next. And he dealt with the adversity in the first round where he wasn't really able to get much off after the first exchange, and then was able to go out there in the second round and actually submit his opponent. So very good from Elijah Smith, and yeah, I got this one correct. Then we move up to Vitor Petrino versus Steven Asplund. Now this fight, this fight was strangely closer than it looked based on their physiques and the way Steven Asplund's face looked at after the fight. His face was all cut up, his cheek was super cut up, his eyes and other cheek were cut up, and he was just covered in blood. But he did the more wobbling strikes. Like I feel like Petrino did the more damaging strikes with physical bodily damage. But I think Steven Asplund had Vitor Petrino closer to unconscious than Vitor Petrino had Steven Asplund. I don't think there was a moment of that fight where Steven Asplund was a punch away from going out cold. I think there were three separate moments in this fight where Vitor Petrino was a punch away from going out cold. Like, Steven Asplund landed some good shots, rocked him a couple times. It would be very hard to argue Steven Asplund won this one, but you could say that he got a round or two very close, just based on him wobbling him, dropping Vitor Petrino. But Vitor Petrino obviously had the visible damage of the eye cut and the face all bloody, and it got worse each round. So Vitor Petrino wins this one. I picked Asplund delusionally, hoping he would win, but he looked decent out there. And for it being his second fight in the UFC against somebody like Vitor Petrino, who is obviously in better shape than he is, it's kind of to be expected. But yeah, Steven Asplund loses. Can't wait to see him back in there because he is an exciting fighter. This fight was exciting. And Vitor Petrino is going to keep looking to move up into the heavyweight rankings, probably beat on a few more blobs, and yeah, see where we go from there. Now we move up to Chris Curtis versus Muktabek Orablai. This fight was one of the ones I was more excited for on this card, because I am a fan of Muktabek Orablai, and he looked great in this fight. I mean, Chris Curtis is decent level competition. He went to a decision, I believe it was, against Brendan Allen. Was able to look good against Brendan Allen and beat Brendan Allen once. But he's had good fights. He's fought tough opponents. He's looked good against high level guys. And Muktabek Orablai wrestled him to a dominant decision, won majority of every second of every fight. Um, Muktabek Orablai set a new record for welterweight in this fight with the most takedowns in a fight. He had 19 or 20, I believe, and the record had been 14, which is crazy considering that fighters like GSP and Usman and Bilal Muhammad and all these guys are welterweights, and he's the one who sets the record against Chris Curtis, and that's a pretty good record to set it against. And he looked great out there. Obviously, it wasn't the most entertaining fight ever, but as far as wrestling and chain wrestling against the fence goes, this was one of the more entertaining versions of that I've ever seen because Muktabek Orablai was picking up, dunking Chris Curtis on his head, dragging him out, kept tripping him, hitting him with elbows. You could see that he was moving towards positions when he got him down to the ground to try and elbow him, to try and submit him. He was going for stuff. He wasn't just sitting there holding him against the fence, knee, 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 pull a little bit, knee, 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 punch once in the face, knee, knee, knee. It was pull, drag, twist, turn, flip, push him over, drag him down. He did like the splits into a takedown at one point. He picked the ankle like 17 times. He literally picks up Chris Curtis like at 4 separate points in this fight and just dunks him on his head. And had him on the back, fully mounted, and was ground and pounding. Chris Curtis was complaining about back of the head shots, which there were a couple that were landed. But I also think because Muktabek Orablai was grabbing the back of his head and pulling him up and then punching him in the side of the face, and I think Chris Curtis thought he was hitting him in the back of the head when he was really just pulling him with the back of the head. But yeah, Muktabek Orablai wins this fight dominantly. Excited to see what he gets to do next. Yeah, I'm really excited for Muktabek Orablai. I'm always gonna root for Muktabek Orablai. Great performance. He was only like 2 takedowns away from the complete record for the UFC with 3 round fights for takedowns. He had 19 or 20, and I think that's 21, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, Muktabek Orablai, great performance. So glad to see it. And yeah, he's back into the win column, or keeps on winning because I forgot he slept Jack Hermanson in his last fight. But yeah, now he's won a couple times in a row. I think 3 in a row now. Then we had Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva. This fight was strange. Because I expected a lot more from Charles Johnson and I expected a lot less from Bruno Silva. And obviously that's not how it went. I mean, I got this one right. I got Charles Johnson winning correct. But I did not expect it to be this close against Bruno Silva, but Bruno Silva did very good about putting the pressure on Charles Johnson and causing him to have to adjust and kind of think on the fly about counters, about the speed that Bruno Silva had, because Bruno Silva was very fast out there. But Charles Johnson landed the more damaging strikes. I think he ended up probably winning the second and third rounds. All the rounds are pretty close. I think the first round Bruno Silva definitely won, though. I think Charles got the second, and then the third was very close up until the last exchanges, where Charles landed a good amount of like elbows and jabs and backhands, and was just landing more hard shots. Bruno Silva landed some hard shots in that last like exchanges too, but I think that Charles Johnson won it based off of the end of the third round. And yeah, it was a fun fight overall. Split decision. It made sense. You could score it to either one, but I think Charles Johnson was the one that made sense to fight or to give the fight to. And especially Charles Johnson did accept this one on short notice somewhat and shortly after losing by knockout. So it was a good performance from what we honestly should have expected. And yeah, Charles Johnson just goes out there, gets it done, calls out for somebody in the top 5, top 7, Asuel Mabayev or Brandon Royval he called out for, which they had fought, I guess, in the LFA at one point. So, yeah, Charles Johnson wins, and not much really else to say after that. Just very good performance for both of them. They both looked pretty good out there, and it was a tough, hard-fought win for either of them, no matter who you gave it to. Then we had Ian Kutalaba versus Umar Sy. This fight went completely opposite of how I expected it. Ian Kutalaba, I'm happy he won because I do like Ian Kutalaba, but I had picked Umar Sai. And Umar Sai gets submitted in the first round. Ian Kutalaba jumps the gilly and submits him, just rolls him right into it, taps him immediately. And yeah, Umar Sai did literally nothing. Landed 5 shots in the entire fight. Kutalaba landed 40. Kutalaba just looked way better out there. Uh, and yeah, rolled him up with a guillotine and finished him. You don't see guillotines much anymore, so it was cool to see. But yeah, nothing really else to say. Omar Sy just literally could not do anything, did not do anything, didn't really even try to do much. And Kutalaba just knew what he had to do, veteraned it out, and got the submission very, very, very easily in the first round. Then we move up to Marwan Rahiki versus Harry Hardwick. This fight was fight of the night, and it was very fun. I wish it would have been into the third round, but this fight ends on the stool at the end of the second round due to Harry Hardwick's jaw being broken. If it would show there, Harry Hardwick's jaw got broken in this fight in the second round, and he was no longer able to continue into the third round. But this was a very fun fight. Rahiki would land a bunch of great shots, and then get hit himself and would get her against the cage. In the second round, I think it was 3 separate occasions where he would land like a 7-piece combination against the fence on Harry Hardwick, all of them landing. There was literally a moment where he threw like 8 hooks in a row right against Harry Hardwick's face against the cage, and then Harry would just throw one shot, hit Rahiki. Rahiki would stumble back, hurt, and that would give Harry enough time to get out and recover. That happened like 3 separate times. Very fun fight. First round was fun too. They were just going back and forth, slinging at each other, throwing as hard as they could, trying to put each other out. And yeah, it was a very fun fight. It would have been awesome to see this go into a third round. Harry Hardwick, literally though, in between the second and third, they went to a commercial, and when we got back from commercial, they were hugging each other and they were saying that it was off. I was like, "Oh, what happened? What happened?" And then they show that Harry Hardwick told his coach when they got into the cage after the second round, said, "I can't anymore. My jaw, it's completely." And he said some words, and you saw he was and he wasn't able to close his jaw, and you could honestly, I think you could even see like some little like divots into the side of his cheek. So I wonder if it was completely just dislocated. Because he got a bunch of shots just teed off onto him into that second round. That I'm not surprised his jaw broke. I mean, you could see the punch here. There was like probably 7 or 8 different versions of this punch that landed on the cage in sequence with each other. And yeah, Harry Hardwick just loses this fight. Very, very fun fight. Deservingly got fight of the night. So both of these guys get $100,000 more. Harry Hardwick, which that's good for him to have such a fun fight, get an extra $100,000. Same with Rahiki, and Rahiki gets an extra 25,000 because it was technically a TKO. So yeah, awesome for both of these guys. Super excited to see Rahiki back in there again. And I could completely forgot it when I was doing my predictions video, but I had watched his Contender Series fight with the amazing comeback. And then when they said Rahiki again, it didn't register with me until they said it on the broadcast. I was like, wait, Rahiki? That's a guy from the Contender Series. I was like, oh yeah, that's the debuter. And then they showed it, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, I watched that. So I would have been much more confident picking Rahiki if I had remembered that than when I did my prediction video. But yeah, Rahiki wins by a jaw breakage of Harry Hardwick. And then we move up to Andre Fili versus Jose Miguel Delgado. This fight was very, 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 very close. Obviously it's the next day, so I'm not able to remember exactly how I would have split it. Because a lot of these rounds are close. I would say Andre, I almost said Touchy Feely because that's his nickname, but Andre Fili won the first round. Then Delgado, I think, won the last 2. But I think the second round was close enough for both of them to have gotten it. But also parts of the third round. This was a very, very close fight. Each round was very, very close. These two were very, very evenly matched. You could give, honestly, there was an argument to give any round to Fili, 1, 2, or 3. There was an argument to give any round to Miguel Delgado, and that's 1, 2, or 3. You could have done literally any of them. But I think it was probably round one Fili, round two and three Delgado. And Andre Fili just he looked good out there. He was doing very very good. But Miguel Delgado was landing good shots as the fight went on. Got better as the fight went on. Was landing more body kicks. Was landing good knees. There was a moment where he landed like 6 knees in a row. Not all of them flush, but like 3 of them were flush, and then 3 of them to like the body. Um, was pushing up Philly back, was hitting him with body kicks, hitting him with head kick, kicking to the leg, hitting with the head, and would once he figured out how to get his punches working, which really happened in the third round, he was able to completely change. And yeah, and Andre Fili, he was upset I think after this fight not getting the win, but I think the rightful choice was made. Obviously, I'm gonna think that I picked Delgado, but I think Delgado did win this fight. I think he out he out struck and out like he out damaged Andre Fili. I just think the most Andre Fili would have really good moments, but then so was Jose Miguel Delgado. I'm excited to see what he gets next, and excited to see who he fights next, because both of these guys are always in fun fights. But Jose Miguel Delgado is the future of the featherweight division, hopefully, and yeah, so I'm excited to see where they could take him from now. Then we move to the co-main event of the evening: Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. Um, I got this one right. Jillian Robertson wins by grappling. That's it. This is a big 2026 co-main event. Amanda Lemos, Jillian Robertson. Absolutely nothing happened in this fight. Was not exciting at all. I was practically falling asleep watching it. Even though they weren't on the ground the whole time, it just was not entertaining. They didn't really go out there and try and destroy each other. They didn't have neither of them had enough power in their hands to do anything. Julian Robertson's striking is so bad she could have done nothing. Um, and Julian Robertson has good enough grappling to implement it against Amanda Lemos, but yeah, I was not really able to fully pay attention to this because also at strawweight, I think Mackenzie Dern destroys both of these two. I think Verna Jandaroba could beat both of these two. I think um, Zhang Weili wipes the floor with both of these. I think that Tatiana Suarez probably beats both of these. Like, I think the higher end of this division beats both of these two very easily. And there's no excitement for me for either of these two to be on. Like, I was not. This could have been the second fight of the night, and it would have been just as important to me as as it being the co-main event. So, yeah, Amanda Lemos loses to Jillian Robertson. I got that one wrong, or I got that one right. Um, but nothing. There's nothing really important with it. Then we get to the main event of the evening: Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. This was wow from Kevin Vallejos. I mean, he goes out there. The Ilia Topuria comparisons are shockingly good. Like they are it is you this fight showed it more than ever. I don't know if it's just because we've already seen Josh Emmett fight Ilia Topuria and we know how that went. I think the scorecards weren't they like a 10-9, 10-8, 10-7, 10-8, 10-7 or something like that? Like wasn't it ridiculous? Um and Kevin Vallejos went out there and looked the most like Ilia Topuria he's ever looked. He was stalking him down, land a shot, stalking him down, land a body shot, land a head, land a body, and eventually they get into a like exchange where they close the distance on each other. They both land a shot. It pushes Vallejos back like a step, but Vallejos' shot drops Emmett bad. Then he gets on top, starts pounding on Emmett. Then Emmett starts scrambling to his feet, but is still out of it because the second they get up, he throws just an overhand at nothingness. Then Vallejos runs over, punches him, knee, then punches a few more times, drops him down to the ground again. Herb Dean steps in, calls the fight off. Huge for Kevin Vallejos. Just dispatches of Josh Emmett in crazy time. I don't know if Emmett's just dramatically fallen off that much since like the Yair Rodriguez, since the Ilia Topuria. But Ilia Topuria didn't finish Josh Emmett, and that was what 3-4 fights ago, because he had the Yusuf Salal, he had the Lerone Murphy, Bryce Mitchell, and then the Ilia Topuria one. So that was 4 fights ago. Was the Ilia Topuria one, and Ilia went 5 rounds with him, where he absolutely demolished him and like just dog walked Josh Emmett. There's no taking away from that. But what I'm saying is that he did all that, and then now Vallejos in the first round, 3 minutes 33 seconds into the round, destroys Josh Emmett, like completely just picked him apart and puts him away. Like Yusuf Salal submitted him real quick. Lerone Murphy, I believe, went to a very boring decision where he ran away from Josh Emmett majority of the fight. Vallejos went out there and just destroyed Josh Emmett. I mean, absolutely insane, absolutely crazy. So good for Kevin Vallejos. And yeah, it was just a very impressive performance from him. There's not much really else to say other than like wow from Kevin Vallejos. I mean, he looked more like Ilia Topuria in this fight than he's ever looked in any of his other fights. I think he like the way he was moving his body, the way he would throw punches. He doesn't have the finishing instincts of Topuria, because that's one thing that I've always said with Topuria is that when he hurts you, you really don't have a chance, because Ilia Topuria, you can see the switch flip in his brain when he sees you hurt, because he jumps onto you. He perfectly positions himself into the ground and pound and lands it perfectly. Vallejos got on right on, but he was a little sloppier. But he's also way younger than Ilia and also way newer. But I'm just saying that I'm trying to clarify that I'm not saying he is like Ilia Topuria to a T. I'm saying that he is very, very good, and he is growing into that Ilia Topuria role where he just beat Josh Emmett real bad, and that's a big win to get him further into the division. He's gonna be in like the top 10 probably starting next Tuesday. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens for him next. I don't know what matchup they'll give him, but there are some great matchups in the division. And yeah, Kevin Vallejos beats Josh Emmett to a pulp pretty much. Literally, Josh Emmett has no chance. And just gets TKO'd. So excited for Kevin Vallejos. Very fun fighter. The future, exactly. 24 years old, already in the top 10 of featherweight is insane. One of the most skilled divisions ever, and he's 24 years old in the top 10. Awesome. Awesome. And he dismantles Josh Emmett like that. Yeah. And that was UFC Fight Night Emmett versus Vallejos. Nothing really else to add on to. Next week is UFC London, which as of right now is Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. I've heard rumors that Movsar is having trouble getting into the UK, so it might end up being Gene Silva. But yeah, Movsar versus Lerone Murphy. Excited for that one. And that's the featherweight title eliminator for this division that Vallejos just won in. This card I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wrong. So 9 for 5. So that's 9 of 14. Did decent. Started off pretty rough, but came back towards the main card. And yeah, thank you for watching. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever you can do. Share. And yeah, let me know what you thought of these fights. And how you did on your predictions. And yeah, have a good night, good day, good whatever, and bye.